In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. This is a very special day for us and for me, because this is the first time that we are again able to celebrate the traditional rites of Easter. Last year we were not able to, and there was a matter of great sorrow, great chagrin to me and to many others. But here we are again. These Gnostics are like that. They put them out of business and they come back again. So that's what we are trying to do. Now then, the lateness of the hour and other circumstances compel me to make this as concentrated as possible. And what I thought might be the most appropriate message at this time, at the beginning of the Triduum Sanctum of the 3 holy days before Easter Sunday, this time is to perhaps draw some Gnostic conclusions, very briefly and without hardly any explaining, from the really very unfortunate and very sad and very terrible year that we have been through. And some of these are conclusions that are very easily drawn from the evidence of external circumstances, and others are of a more esoteric nature, and I hope that you won't mind those. And if it convinces you that I am not quite right in the head, well, you will join others of similar views in various places. You cannot live in this world and do what we are doing for decade after decade without, let's say, accumulating such a reputation, at least here and there. Now, the first conclusion that I feel that is very important for us to draw is the importance of each and every one of us to each and every one of us. There is a Latin saying that has been, I think, with Christendom almost from the very beginning, which says extra ecclesiam nulla salus, which means outside of the church. Well, you can call it that, but let's say outside of the company, outside of the assembly, there is no salvation. And I think that this has been driven forcefully and very painfully into our consciousness over the terrible year, the annus horribilis. My Latin comes back to me after all these years, namely that without company, without others, we do very, very badly. Intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. And so it is the issue of each other, the issue of company and of community, I think has been impressed in us very greatly. We knew all along the kind of sayings that no man is an island, and assuredly no woman and no child either. And it was just awful to the isolation, the solitary confinement that we have been put into, and it has severely damaged and contributed to the demise, sometimes by suicide, of a great many people. So I hope it has taught us to appreciate each other. You know, none of us are terribly lovable. That's why this whole business of love your brother as your soul from the Gospel of Thomas and so on, it needs a little bit of looking at it. Yet we need each other in a most desperate way and in so many different areas. And it is from that association and that company and the tacit or not so tacit support of each other that we derive the kind of strength that will take us to the stars and beyond. That's what we are going to get it from. We are not going to get it from trees, we are not going to get it from grass, and not even from the darling doggies that walk back and forth on Beechwood Drive and everything else. We only get it from each other. So that's the first conclusion. And there could be a good many others, but let us say another one being that as important that is for the spiritual journey, the spiritual journey, or whatever you wish to call it, also requires, and in fact requires very, very powerfully, our own individuality. So you see, again, you have the dualities. There is the community and there is the individuality, and the two should be able to work together. I think it was Plotinus who said that the great return to the divine is the flight of the alone to the alone. Only a Greek could think of something so poetic or something like that. And this also needs to be kept in mind. And how does that work into the situation? Well, I think what has particularly become manifest, at least to some of us, is that in the manner in which we try to deal internally, primarily in our own psyche, in our own soul, with these conditions, we must come to and get hold of our own internal resources, as well as our external support system with community. Because without access to our internal resources, we are not going to go anywhere. Without the presence of others, the kindly presence of others, we won't even be able to take off. You know, we won't even get to the part of the airport where the airplane takes off. So, you know, these are extremely important issues. And the latter involves that we have to learn, if we don't know much of it yet, we have to learn how to rely on the deepest resources within ourselves. There is something there, there is somebody there that has been put there ages ago, and without that nothing good is going to happen. And that is the Christ in us, the hope of glory, as St. Paul the Apostle called it, and there could be various other names. And so we have to call upon it. And sometimes you can call and call and call, and it seems that you're not getting any response, you know. But it's not really true. It has been called the still small voice. Now, how do you hear a still small voice? The stillness alone would stop you from hearing it, and the smallness will contribute to it. And yet, you know, it is there. So we need to learn how to listen, even through our own tears, even through our own disaffection with the situation, even through and in spite of our anger. It's there. And it tries to remind us who we are. You know, it's a strange message that it has. The message is something like this: remember, remember, remember who you are, remember who you are. Because if you don't remember that, then you are nobody. And don't place external factors above that voice, because that voice, small and still though it may be, inside of us, in a secret and mysterious ways and barely audible, that is the voice of the highest power above. And yet, we don't pay any attention to it. We pay attention to the worldly authorities who tell us one thing one day and do one thing one day and then don't do the same thing the next day, and all these sorts of things. They are not important. That mysterious thing inside of us is important. And we can listen to it. Listen, I am not I'm not whistling Dixie. Let's put it that way. I never was very good at whistling. But let's say, because this year, the Annus Horribilis 2020 almost destroyed me. I'm quite open about it. It almost destroyed me. But somehow behind all the noise and behind all the balderdash that pours out from our mendacious media, something was still talking there. Just watch out. Don't give up. Don't despair. And you have been through this before and you will again. And also, and I didn't listen to that one all that well, don't be so angry. Because it's a natural reaction when we feel that bad things are being done to us, that we get angry. And yet, it's one of the most futile emotions that we can have. It doesn't lead anywhere except to more anger. So we also have to watch out for that. Realize that getting angry against our will, as one of the Gnostic scriptures says, is a futile situation, and we should try not to do it. I'll conclude with the most esoteric one, and the one that may convince you that something weird is going on under this big pointy head, or at least pointy hat, And that is this, that St. Paul tells us in very clear words, and certainly he isn't the only one, that we fight not against external things, but we fight against, well, he summarizes that, he uses various spiritual names, and then he says that we fight against spiritual wickedness in high places. So we need to keep that in mind. I mean, we live in a materialistic civilization where these things are not given any credence to. But the less credence you give to the divine, and the less credence you give to the opponent of the divine, the more powerful they will become, like the two snakes hissing at each other. So be very careful. Whenever catastrophes happen, especially of the kind of magnitude as we are still experiencing the world over, we have to keep in mind that there are forces there and agencies which administer those forces, which do not wish us any good. And that I don't want to involve you in a demonology or something like that, but if on the one hand we have angels, we also have something else that's pretty nasty. And so it was in this case a very, very powerful force, which can be personalized. They have their names too. I know the name of this one if I want to. I'm not saying it by bragging, and in no ways would I tell you or anyone else. You know why? Because you utter the names of these nasty things. Then all of a sudden they say, oh, you called? oh, here I am. No, we don't want to do that. But there's a particularly deleterious and evil force had come upon us. It was here for a few years prior to the coming of its materializing in the form of this epidemic, and it's of those forces that particularly hate the human race, hate humans. I could speculate why, but I'm not going to, So we need to keep in mind that we struggle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness in high places. And that is why we have instituted in the latter part of the epidemic the prayer of Pope Leo XIII against the evil one. It has a very interesting history behind it, and it's a very magical prayer. But in whatever ways, let's keep in mind that we have a connection. We have a father and a mother. We have somebody who looks after us, and that somebody or these somebodies are seated right on their thrones in our very nature. They are closer to us, as the Prophet Muhammad said, closer to us than our jugular vein, and other similar expressions. It's very, very close to us. So whether it is manifest or not, whether it talks to us with any kind of voice we can hear, it is here. And with its help, we will overcome the opposition. We will overcome the darkness. We will overcome the great killer. We will overcome the great enemies of humanity and of the human soul. Because we carry with us the seed of the ultimate truth, of the ultimate goodness, of the ultimate beauty. And we have been told by one of the great messengers of the light, whom we invoke in our Eucharist and otherwise, we have been told that what he has given us, the assembly and the sacramental union, the gates of hell will not prevail against it. But against everything else they might. In fact, material things are their particular babies, If we only put up material things against them, we're going to lose. That's all there's to it. Because they're stronger than any material thing. They're stronger than any vaccine, and I got a couple of them, but for other reasons. They are stronger than any medicine. They are stronger than any so-called science. They are very, very strong. But there is something that is stronger than they are. And that's something we just participated in. And let us continue to do that. Let us call to the Holy Sacrament on the altar and its duplicate, the Holy Sacrament on the altar of our heart. And with them, with their help, with their presence, we cannot go wrong. And indeed, the darkness will not prevail. And so let us be very grateful that we are here again and we are able to do this. I couldn't express to you what a terrible deprivation it is for a priest not to be able to exercise his priesthood. There is no sickness, there is no pestilence that is worse than that. It is absolutely horrible. But our dear Father Jerry, our now Deacon Aaron, and our dear Subdeacon Timothy, the four of us were here, and we brought the sacrament back on the altar, and everything changed. And now I think we can walk closer and closer to something really marvelous, something really miraculous, something really great. There is no greater miracle than the Blessed Sacrament which the Lord Christ instituted according to the biblical story on Maundy Thursday. There isn't. It's the universal medicine. It's the panacea. It's the content of the Holy Grail. Let's be grateful. We are here. We can do this, and we are so grateful that you are here this evening. And I have several times already expressed my great gratitude to my brother clergy, and now also to our visiting brother clergy, my longtime friend Ali Azizi, Reverend Deacon, who on the last Sunday of this month is scheduled to be ordained to the Holy Priesthood right here. And this way we will prevail, because there is something, there is someone, there is some indescribable, impossible, unthinkable miracle that is working through us and in us, for which we are grateful from now until the end of the days. And so may the mystery of that which hangs twixt heaven and earth descend upon us and remain with us always. Amen.